Hello again, everybody, and welcome into another episode of HBCU Huddle. I am CJ Hurt. Follow me on Instagram at new_conradicalness. He is Mike Wallace. Follow him on Twitter at MyMikeCheck. Mike, how's everything going, man?
Hey, man, it's going, man. Looking forward to another great show. Got a lot of great interviews, man. Some real impactful things going on with the HBCU Huddle this week. It's getting the weather's breaking a little bit. We're officially in fall, so it's back to hoodie season, and we got the HBCU hoodie back for season 2. So I'm all good, man.
And you just like
you got one of these, so don't tell me. Don't say where we at.
Every week, Mike, you get me off track. Is it fall or is it false fall? Right? Do we? It's gonna get hot again, isn't it? Like we are due one more
90s, right? Stretch of 90s.
Week of in the 90s, aren't we? Today is outright pleasant outside.
It is. It's wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's incredible. But this feels fallish to me.
We were just in 90s like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Right. So. I don't know, man. Like I'm kind of ready for a little bit of a break, man.
I think everybody's ready for the break.
I'm ready for roll down your window or pull up your window weather, man. And I'm ready to go out on my deck and grill without needing to turn on a fan and having a sweat towel, right?
All the sweat towel.
I want something like that, man. So I'm a little bit ready.
Okay.
I'm a little bit ready for the fall, but we'll see. I do think we have another week of 80s to 90s.
At least one more.
Yeah,
at least one more. Just randomly in October 6th, 7th, something like that.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Kyra wants a hoodie. She doesn't have one.
She doesn't have one of these.
No.
Man,
I don't think she has any HBCU Huddle. What can we do to get the people this HBCU Huddle? The amount of people who stop me like, CJ, I need some of that HBCU Huddle.
We got to put another order in, man.
Okay.
Because we just got the what do you call it when you the betas, right? We just got the betas, right? And you and I both had some, and we got to put another order in, man, because it's hitting the streets. It's hot product right now. We got to keep it rolling. You're right. It's growing, man. We hitting all of these campuses, and people keep asking us about it. So it's all good.
Absolutely. We got another jam-packed show for everybody today. There are a couple of interviews that Mike, you hinted at, that we're really excited about. You got a chance to sit down with Lane Dragons head coach Vyron Brown. Hit their big matchup against undefeated Clark Atlanta.
Yeah,
how about that? Right here in Memphis, if I remember correctly. So we got that interview. Jeffrey Matthews of the Memphis Grizzlies Foundation. He's going to hop on to discuss all the great things that they've got going on. Of course, we will do our pick sixes, all of that, plus so much more. But let me start the show, Mike, with a plea.
Okay,
a plea out there to anybody and everybody listening. Will somebody please beat Grambling State on the gridiron? Mike Wallace is unbearable.
Man.
How about them Grambling State Tigers? What they did to JSU was downright impressive over the weekend.
Hey, listen, man. Look, forcing 5-6 turnovers, leading the nation. Grambling State University is leading the nation in forced takeaways, man. So when you talk about that defense, and we talked about it last week with Mo Carter, right? Mm-hmm. Mo Carter, who was on the broadcast, the ESPN Plus broadcast based out of Alabama there. We said, look, man, Grambling is talented at all three layers of their defense. Look, right now, Grambling State University is the best team in the SWAC. And I'm saying that inclusive of Florida A&M. They're playing the best football right now in the SWAC. And listen, man, at a certain point, you just stop talking trash. You just let the facts be the facts. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. We're riding high right now, heading to the State Fair Classic to play Prairie View A&M on Saturday. But we'll get to that later on in the show. I'm not going to take a victory lap yet. It's just 3-1, but we'll take it right now.
And I think the State Fair Classic will be their first conference game.
Conference game.
The Jackson State game
was a non-conference
sort of matchup. So we'll see what Grambling State looking good. First year head coach looking real good.
Hey, shout out, man. Shout out the coach, man, and everything that's going on with that team. So I'm proud. I'm a proud Graham alum. I've always been proud of Graham, but I'm especially proud this season, man. It's looking good. Mickey Joseph got the guys rolling, and let's see if we can keep it going.
Other games from last week, we don't want to spend too much time recap because that happened almost a week ago. Yep. But it would be remiss of me not to tip the cap to what Clark Atlanta was able to do out there, and being down big on the road at Bethune-Cookman, and not just being down big on the road against a team that is a step up when we think about level of competition from D2 to FCS. Clark Atlanta went out there and still found a way to get the job done and get the win to go to 3-0-1 on the season. I thought I was going to be saying the same thing about Edward Waters, tip of the cap to them, but they ended up not.
Did
being
you see
able
the
to.
finish of that game?
Yes,
Were you watching it?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
man.
It was Thursday night on ESPN
Two. Yeah.
We were plugged into that.
That game should have been over.
Yes.
Like, goodness.
Should have been over twice.
It should have.
It should have been over twice. Benedict jumped all over Edward Waters to start that game. I think Benedict had a 14-0 lead and had ran 2 plays. Right? Like that's how that game was going. It's like, oh, Benedict's about to run wild. Edward Waters comes back. Edward Waters, I do believe, ties it, maybe takes the lead. I can't remember exactly. And then Benedict finds a way to get the last second score.
Yeah, they took the lead.
Yeah.
And then Benedict elected not to kick the field goal to tie. They said, we're going for it. We're going for the win.
Yep.
Man, I'm telling you, hey, we got to do a whole show. We HBCUs just can't find kickers, man. Why are the kickers are so horrible in black college football?
We
man?
don't make
kickers.
A lot of kickers.
That's the problem.
We don't.
You can't. You got to be able to play for the field goal in HBCUs. The moment they trotted that brother out there, I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen, man. You gotta go for it every single fourth down. The punting games are horrible most of the times. And the PATs and the kickers, man, it's in some HBCUs, man. That's a problem. We got to fix that. We got to get that. If we're gonna put HBCUs on national TV, we got to have the kicking game up to snuff, man.
I'm not sure what to do. I don't know how we get more kickers to more high school age, middle school age people to want to go out there and play kicker, right? Like at a certain point.
Usually they're converted soccer players, right?
Yes.
But HBCUs don't have a lot of soccer programs.
Right.
Some of them don't. So it's a tough position to get some
at
talent.
A certain point,
Yeah.
like you get tired of getting hit. You say, all right, I'm done with football. Nobody steps in and says, hey, wait a second. Before you completely leave, there's a position you can play where you don't get hit. Let's try some of that action.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was some of the highlights of last week's game. Last week's games as we continue to move about and look back at last week. Let's talk some about the players of the week over in the MEAC. Offensive Player of the Week, Walker Harris, North Carolina Central quarterback, 272 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown in their win over North Carolina A&T. Defensive Player of the Week over in the MEAC, Dylan Long, Norfolk State defensive back, 4 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and a pick 6, which was the first pick 6 for Norfolk State since 2019. Mike, I want to talk about North Carolina Central. They took on North Carolina A&T.
Yeah.
What is going on at A&T? And this is, I feel like this, you can ask this question every single week because that's not the A&T pre-pandemic that we all remember. What's going on? Do you think that there's anything they can do to turn that program around back to where it was?
Well, they had some problems, man, because when you come in with a new administration and it started when they changed out coaches, man. And, when Washington left, it was one of those situations where you're talking about a championship program that had won 3 HBCU national championships over a 4-year span. The success was there. And then you say, okay, well, let's make a coaching change. Sam Washington was his name. And you come in with a new coach, a new system, and then you change conferences again, and then you have all of these other internal issues. It seems like they de-emphasize football. Right, I don't even know if they're recruiting at the same level. We got to get our cousin of the show,
which is crazy.
Donald Ware, on
absolutely.
Because he's the radio TV play-by-play guy for North Carolina A&T. But I haven't seen a team take this much of a drop-off so drastically in any level of college football, but especially from what they were to what they are now. It's hard to watch.
Which is crazy. You brought up the not being sure what the recruiting looks like, the recruiting budget, if they were able to afford to recruit the same way that they were. And football not being an emphasis when all of this movement was because of football when they told us they were moving, right? It was we no longer want to play for HBCU national championship. We want to contend for the FCS national championship. And so we're going to move from conference to conference to set ourselves up to be in one of the best football playing conferences in the FCS so that we can get an automatic spot into the FCS playoffs and get to show what we can do on a larger stage. And for football, if it's true, we'll talk to Donna Ware about it next time we have him on. If it's true that football is taking a bit of a back seat, then why would you leave all of your fellow brethren in the MEAC if that was going to be the case? That doesn't make sense.
No, you're in a good, basically what happened with that is that was part of it. The other part of it was that now they're in a different conference, and they wanted to academically better align as well,
that
too.
was another one, too.
So when you talk about University of Richmond, when you talk about some of the schools that are in the CAA, the Colonial Athletic Association, you're talking about tradition-rich, strong academics, smaller scale facilities and institutions. So I think North Carolina A&T wanted to align with more like-minded academic institutions as much as it was about athletics. But when you do that, you gotta have. Here's the thing: HBCUs who want to go mainstream, they have to understand that now they're able to recruit beyond just African American players. Mm-hmm. I don't know if athletically they want to make that leap yet. You still want to be a home to students who are coming from a certain community if you're an HBCU program. But what you have to learn is that the best offensive linemen might not be all black players. You might have to integrate and get great offensive linemen, get great kickers. Mm-hmm. And if you're focusing on football and you're competing against teams that are because it's not like Tennessee State and the Big South OVC, North Carolina A&T and Hampton and the CAA. It's not like they're going up against teams in those conferences that don't have black players. It's still majority black players they're going against. It's just they're integrating their talent base. And that might be something that A&T and Tennessee State and the Hamptons might have to consider if they want to compete at a quote-unquote higher level at their FCS division.
Absolutely, absolutely. As we look at the SWAC players of the week, we brought up Clark Atlanta knocking off, upsetting Bethune-Cookman. Mm-hmm. That didn't stop Cameron Ransom, the Bethune-Cookman quarterback, from being named SWAC player of the week. You're talking about somebody with 382 passing yards, 105 rushing yards. That's 487 total yards of offense and 3 touchdowns. He was a one-man wrecking crew, and when Clark Atlanta figured out a way to try and contain him, there was nothing that Bethune-Cookman could do. Over on the defensive side of the ball, Mike, you brought up Grambling State's tremendous day on the field from a turnover standpoint. That means Brendan Barley, Grambling State defensive back, 7 tackles and an interception, gets to be named SWAC defensive player of the week. You brought it up. Grambling State leads the nation in turnovers gained with 15. If they keep this up, Mike, what do you expect from Grambling? Can they keep this up? They're a turnover machine now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the pick sixes, the strip fumbles. They're hitting you to try to dislodge the ball from you, right? Sometimes if you do that, and I don't like to see that all the time where guys go for the strips and they're not focused on the tackle.
You risk a big play happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But they've been able to stay body position in front of their guy and tackle him, bring him down, and then strip the ball on the way out. And what they're doing defensively right now is just, I mean, it's one of those things where they're opportunistic, and they controlled that game. Like, offensively, Grambling struggled. They didn't look impressive at all offensively against Jackson State. But defensively, they dominated that game. I think the defense accounted for 21 points.
A pick six.
Yep.
A fumble recovery score for a touchdown as well.
And then you're right in the red zone when you're forcing some of these turnovers too. So it doesn't take the offense much to punch it in. So, again, what they're doing defensively, and if they can keep this up, I think they run through the West, and then we'll see who they match up against in the East to get that ticket back to Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl.
Over in the SIAC, Offensive Player of the Week, David Wright, Clark Atlanta quarterback, defensive player in the SIAC. Defensive Player of the Week, in the SIAC, Sean Johnson. He had 12 tackles, and 2.5 of those tackles were tackles for losses. That'll bring us to our HBCU Huddle Player of the Week, and it is David Wright III. Here's his stat line. Clark Atlanta going up against Bethune-Cookman on the road, a D2 school going up against an FCS school. 374 passing yards on 62% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 10 carries for 21 yards. He had a phenomenal game for the Panthers over at Clark Atlanta.
Yeah, he did, man. That last bullet, though, man, that we could have gone without that one, right?
Listen,
that 10 carries for 21 yards. Why you got to bring up bad stuff? You got
21 yards. That's
20,
a lot of yards.
That's 2.1 yards a carry.
That almost put my man at 400 yards of total offense, though, Mike.
Well, yeah, you got to put it like that then.
All right, so almost get rid of the 10 carries, Kyron.
And just go almost 400 yards
of total,
400 yards
of total offense. Let's take a look at where everybody stands right now.
Hold on, because I got one other thing to say about David Wright. We're going to see David Wright and that Clark Atlanta University team in Memphis at the Bluff City Classic right here in Memphis on Saturday against Lane College, right? So it's over at Crump Stadium right behind Central High School. So Clark Atlanta is the SIAC's leading offensive passing team. Like, they pass for a lot of yards. Lane is the #1 rushing team in the SIAC, so it's going to be a great game, man, and for a worthy cause. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but go ahead. I just wanted to push that in.
Let's do it now. You had a chance to sit down with Lane Dragons head coach Vyron Brown earlier this week. Let's hear what he had to say about this matchup and the Lane football season.
All right. Welcome back to the HBCU Huddle on Grind City Media. I'm here with Lane College football coach Vyron Brown. Now, listen, we go back because we both Grambling guys. But right now he has a mission at hand, and that's to continue to get Lane to move forward, obviously building on some impressive seasons, his first 3 seasons here. Lane College is taking on Clark Atlanta University in the Bluff City Classic Saturday at Crump Stadium in Memphis. It's going to be a battle for first place in the SIAC. Coach Brown, first and foremost, man, how important is that game, getting a chance to go back to Memphis where a nice handful of your roster is from anyway? What kind of atmosphere is that going to be for those guys to get that opportunity?
First of all, I want to say thank you for coming down, giving us this opportunity and space to talk about Lane College and promote the Bluff City Classic. You know, I think it's a wonderful thing that we're able to take one of our home football games to Memphis that means so much to Lane College, and put our skills on display and let the student athletes get an opportunity to play at home in front of their family and friends.
One of the, I think 15 guys on the roster I counted were from or around Memphis, only an hour's drive, less than an hour's drive away from here, including your quarterback.
Right.
You know, tell us about your quarterback and sort of the leadership that you're starting to see in him through the first couple of games this season so far.
Well, Gad is, #1, he's an outstanding guy. You know, he's raised right at home with his mom and dad. He's one of them young men that he tries to do everything you ask him to do, you know. And sometimes he overthinks himself about some things, but for the most part this year we've been pleased with his play. You know, last year was a little growing pain for him. You know, his first time ever being the quote-unquote quarterback 1 for a program. You know, and I think he handled all the non-success well, and you're seeing him this year growing. We just have to continue to push knowledge into him and confidence that he can get it done. And, you know, I'm very happy with the way he's been playing thus far right now. Of course, he can do some more things better, you know, but I think that young man has given us every ounce of what he has on the inside of him from a talent standpoint and from a knowledge standpoint. And, you know, I appreciate him coming back. He graduated this past spring. He could have left and went into the workforce, but he said he want to come back for another year. So tomorrow's not promised to nobody, you know, but it's still a challenge for him every day in competition. So he knows the offense. He's been in the system for a long time. He just has to take all that knowledge and wisdom that he has and put it to work on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the message for guys like him and a handful of other guys that are going back and playing in front of their hometown? I know the focus is, hey, embrace this opportunity, but also don't get distracted by it. It's a business trip for Lane College going back to Memphis.
Well, we just tell them, #1, we're going to handle business, you know. #2, the shaking the hands and all the friendship stuff that happens after the game. You know, kind of like we used to say what we say for homecoming, ain't none of the events for the football team till after the game. You know, the real part is the football game. So we had a good team meeting this morning in introducing Clark Atlanta, and the kids was focused, you know. And I told them the loss to Benedict this past week is over with, let it go. Our focus needs to be on Clark Atlanta.
And then when you talk about the recruiting aspects, is that one of these games where, you know, you get a chance to have people from Memphis see what this program is all about and how strong it's been built over the last few years?
Well, we always want to put a good product out on the field. You know, the football team is one, the number one ambassadors for the school. You know, our brand and the display of our discipline, the display of how we play and perform. And, you know, at the end of the day, we want to graduate our young men. We want to make sure they're spiritually grounded and in the process have fun and win games and championships.
And when you look at Clark Atlanta, I was looking at some of the stats. You have them pulled up right here too, conference-wise. Big-time game early in the SIAC. The number one rushing team, which is your team, number one ground rushing team in the conference versus the number one passing team in Clark Atlanta. This looks like it's going to be a clash of styles. Talk about some of the keys that you have to execute to get the win out there on Saturday.
Well, first of all, Coach Teddy's done a great job of, number one, was able to, when he left Allen, which he had a good season last year, of bringing all the kids, a majority of the kids, 85% of his team that he had recruited to Allen with him to Clark. And he added some more pieces to it, you know, along the way. And, you know, him and Coach L.C. Cole are doing an outstanding job coordinating the offense and the defense. And I just feel like the kids are believing in the coaches. You know, it's something new for them that they haven't had at Clark in a while. And he's having some success, you know. So we expect it to be what it's going to be, you know, a great 60-minute football game, you know. And hey, hats off to Clark Atlanta. They're doing an outstanding job right now. And I challenged our team this morning that, hey, they got them ranked such and such and such and such, and they come into our house, and we got to come out and perform.
Absolutely. And before we get out of here, I want to go back and look at the last 3 years of your transition here. You were here as an assistant 3 years ago, record-setting season, everything that you guys accomplished in that winning season. 2 years ago, you knock off Tennessee State for the first time in school history. Last year, even though it was a tough year, 6 games, the last 6 games of the season decided by one possession. There's a lot of opportunity to grow and learn from that. What are these guys this year learning from what you guys have been able to build over the last couple of seasons?
Well, you know, we've been able to accomplish a lot of things since I've been hired and blessed to be in this position as the head coach. We scored 70 points in one game, homecoming. We went 6-4, was 5 points that season from being in the championship game and in 21. We also beat Tuskegee for the first time in school history. We got a lot of firsts. Beat Tennessee State for the first time in school history. So these young men that have went through the trials and the tribulations are right now getting the opportunity to say, hey, it's time for us to get over the hump. You know, last year we lost 5 games. 2 by 3, 2 by 7, 1 by 6, you know. So it you know, it's a hard pill to swallow, you know. But I think them was growing pains for us, and we matured enough and have enough kids that's been a part of the nucleus of the team to get us over the hump in those situations.
All right, that's Coach Vyron Brown on Michael Wallace, Grind City Media. It's the Clark Atlanta team going up against Lane College in Memphis on Saturday. Get your tickets there right at Crump Stadium. Come out and support Lane. They're doing a lot of great things. Only an hour away from Memphis. They're going to make the trip to Memphis to put on the show for you guys in one of the biggest games early in the season in the SIAC. Back to the studio.
Great interview with Coach Brown, Mike, and it is going to be a big game when Clark Atlanta comes to town to take on Lane.
Oh, no question about it, man. The best record in the conference is up for stake right there. Clark Atlanta is ranked in the Division II polls that we're going to get to on the other side of the break. Lane is trying to make a breakthrough this season after coming so close in a lot of games last season. And, you know, just shout out to Lane College administration. I know they've gone through some transition. Dr. Comer is over there now as the interim president. They're obviously their entire administration, athletics, we wish them the best. And the students, man, I got a chance to hang out in just about every building on campus, dropping off some HBCU Huddle flyers for them to check out. So all the new listeners, all the Lane folks, all the Dragons out there, thanks for the love, man. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys here in Memphis. And we're looking forward to having HBCU Huddle on your airways pretty soon, man. Let's try to make that happen and get it done.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got a great interview with this week's culture maker, Jeffrey Matthews, program coordinator of the Memphis Grizzlies Foundation, coming up next. You don't want to miss all the cool things that they've got going on next on HBCU Huddle right here in the Built for Tough studios on Grind City Media.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item. Whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
Maxwell in concert. The Serenade Tour. October 16th at FedEx Forum. Maxwell. With special guest Jasmine Sullivan. And October London. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Maxwell Live.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance, to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
I know it. Terrible production job over here, Mike. No mics were hot. Music didn't run. We're back. Welcome back, everybody. We got to get a better producer for this show. CJ Hurt, Mike Wallace, Built for Tough Studios right here on Grind City Media. Now we are joined by Jeffrey Matthews, program coordinator, Memphis Grizzlies Foundation. Jeffrey, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Thanks for having me, man.
Look at that title right there. Look at that title. Look at that. Sir. Man, this dude is important right there. All them letters, man.
We play basketball together. Bet you didn't know that.
We do. CJ has game. CJ, I got to guard him.
Great old man game.
Right, got it. Got a nice little hook shot you can't guard.
That's it. I'm a jump hook
shot.
Jump hook
shot.
Yes,
Jump hook, Mike. You too young to be having a jump hook as your go-to move,
I can't
man.
Jump, Mike.
So it's just a hook. It's just a hook.
CJ stands for can't jump, baby. So I got to find ways to get this ball up on the rim however I can, dog. That's it. That's all I can do for you. Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming in. Like I said, Memphis Grizzlies Foundation got some real cool things going on. What can you tell the people out there about what y'all got coming down the pipes?
For sure. So talk about the program we have, which is called the Alumni Association. And the Alumni Association is a branch of the Team Mentor program. It started in 2020 because the Team Mentor program is for 7th and 8th graders. And we started to see that after 8th grade, we wouldn't see the students after that. So we created a high school program where we try to gear them up for career, college, and life. And this year, we are headed out of town on an out-of-town college tour, our first one. So excited to do so this year.
Man, that is absolutely amazing. And, I can speak to the work that the Team Mentor program has put in. Just everything that the Grizzlies Foundation is doing is phenomenal. But the Team Mentor program is one that I've been involved in going back pre-pandemic. I've seen it grow. And I've always felt like, hey, what we do for the kids in middle school is phenomenal, fantastic. But what happens when that 8th grader goes to 9th? Right. And he's so used to the resources and the attention. And that freshman year in high school is a different experience altogether. Yes, so you guys have done a great job with it, man, and I'm proud of that. But to have these kids now, this alumni group, go to a college on a college tour, how important is that going to be? How many students are you guys looking at taking, and what are some of the schools that you're looking at stopping to see?
I think in total this time we're taking approximately 20 students from the Grizzlies Mentor Program and also the Scholars Program. In total 20, and then we're partnering with Gentlemen's League, and they're taking about 10. So in total 30. So excited for that, and we're headed down to stop at the AUC and specifically stop at Morehouse and Spelman. One is for all boys, one is for all girls, so that way all of our mentees can get a good school experience.
All right. Spelman was announced this week to be the number one, again, like it happens every year. I don't know why this is news, but Spelman was announced to be the number one HBCU in the nation by the U.S. World and News Report. There'll be possibly somebody that you guys mentor to help get to Spelman. They'll see that and be like, oh, this is where I want to go, and they'll get in and do big things. A Butchery up here is a proud Spelman grad. Yes. So when you take the kids on the trip, what's something that you hope that they take away from the trip?
One thing I hope they take away is when they go there, say they fall in love with the campus and they see the requirements, is now they take away a plan. So say if they want to go to Spelman, a number one HBCU, they can see what it takes, what GPA, what ACT score, what extracurriculars can I do, or what different things can I do to set me apart to make sure I get accepted. So really, right now, most of them are in 9th grade, so it's the perfect time to do so because they have 4 years to plan ahead of how to achieve that dream if they want to go to Spelman, Morehouse, or wherever they plan on going.
And see, one of the things that CJ does, and I've seen him do it with his bare hands, man, he grabs nieces and nephews, literally grabs them, puts them in a car, takes them down to college campuses himself.
We got that coming up.
It's the CJ college tour, right?
Yeah.
Damn it, sit back in this seat and let's ride tour, right?
That's what we might have to bring you on the next one.
and so, I mean, one of the joys, and we've all been through that experience as a 9th grader, but when you get later on into your high school career, most kids don't really get interested really until 12th grade year sometimes, and they still don't have a plan. To do this at 9th and 10th grade, how important is that? And could you think back to an experience when you were in the 9th and 10th as you charted your path to college? What was that like for you?
Correct. So when I was in 9th and 10th grade, I was always told to go to college. My parents never really made that an option. It was that you're going to go to college. My dad was in the military. My mom didn't go, so they were very high on education. And in 9th and 10th grade, all I wanted to do was play basketball. So really, my dream school was Syracuse because my AAU team ran a 2-3 zone, and I thought Boeheim would love the fact that I knew how to operate out of his zone. But, as things panned out and basketball wasn't going to be what I played, I started to see I was a little bit behind. So I knew what I wanted to do, which at the time I thought I wanted to do architecture, and ended up going to Kansas State for architecture before changing my major and everything like that. But once I saw that in my junior year, when I was focusing on K-State, it showed me like a GPA that I could have got in state. So I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas State, unfortunately, though, Kansas City's on the border. It's out of state for me.
Oh,
so I
they got to fix that.
Right, they should. They got to grandfather us in.
They got to fix that. It literally is on the border, just like Memphis is bordering 3 different states. It's literally like that. Yeah, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so knowing what I could have gotten, GPAs and ACT scores, I would have granted me in-state tuition would have been big, or being able to connect with different people at the school that could have gotten me different scholarships early on. I think that would have been big. So just seeing and knowing that I experienced that, definitely want to try to help our 9th and 10th graders get ahead of that the best way they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we've shared our stories on here before, Mike, and the universities that we visited, those ended up being the ones that we ended up going to, because those connections that you make there on that visit are so important. Like, I showed up on Tuskegee's campus, did the college tour with one of the people in admissions, and they're like, yo, we got $10,000 for you right now. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is a partial scholarship would be good. My grades were atrocious. I've talked about how bad I was in high school. They weren't good, but to get a partial scholarship was like, oh, they want me, and it's a partial scholarship. I'm absolutely going to come here. Now, going from Memphis to Atlanta is no small feat. There's a lot of states that you pass. Mississippi, Alabama, you pass by, like, depending on how you do it, you'll pass by Alabama A&M. You could pass by Alabama State. You'll pass by the real HBCU in the state of Alabama, number 3, according to the World News report. Tuskegee, of course, you're going to the AUC for Morehouse and Spelman. Clark Atlanta's right there. Morris Brown is there as well. There are a lot of HBCUs, is my point, between Memphis and the ALC, are there any plans or any talks about potentially doing a much larger sort of tour, hitting up more than just those two?
Yes, sir, definitely. We definitely want to take them to as many as possible, especially HBCU-wise. We planned on Morris Brown eventually. We talked about that one, and all the ones in Alabama. So hopefully this one goes well, and we can continue to expand on it and continue to make it bigger and better so we can expose them to as many.
You don't need to do all of them in Alabama. Just
no, not all of them.
Just take them babies to Tuskegee.
Yes,
They'll be like, yeah, we done. This is where we want to go.
Jeff, when you talk about how important the team mentor program is, I mean, a lot of people are hearing it for the first time on our HBCU Huddle podcast here. The Memphis Grizzlies, one of the many programs that the Memphis Grizzlies Foundation runs and is responsible for is the team mentor program, where they send resources and humans with experiences into schools, middle schools around the city here, and they do an after-school program, where you're teaching life skills, educational assistance, and everything else. Just talk about the significance and the growth that you've seen just in your time here with the Grizzlies in the investment and the outcome of the team mentor program.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that's unique about our program is, say if a group comes in 7th grade, then you have them again. So that same group of mentors and group of mentees would stay together in the 8th. So one, you see growth from 7th to 8th grade big. Of course, physically, a lot of them get taller, but you see them begin to mature and you see them begin to even ask the mentors more questions. They get that deeper bond, which is beautiful. And then also if they start to become an alumni, for example, LaRon Robinson is a name that comes to mind. We had him in 7th grade, and he's now with us in 11th. So we've seen him blossom from a shy kid in 7th grade to in 10th and 11th grade. He is selling his own art at Crosstown Concourse, and he goes to Crosstown High, and he's doing a lot of cool things there. You hear Jaden Morris was another name that comes to mind. Was a shy kid, but then he won a dance competition in 8th grade, and he's kind of let that been like a turning point. Yeah. He's playing football now. And definitely doing a lot of cool things at Central. So you definitely see how just them being there and being with the program and being with the same people and building that trust and building that bond and just having somebody who's there and they're consistently there, how that just helps bring them out. Because ultimately consistency is a key thing that kids need. And if we could bring that to them through mentors and resources, we'd love to do so.
Absolutely. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining us. Have fun on the trip.
Yes,
Make
sir.
sure they enjoy themselves and learn a lot.
And one quick thing. How can people get involved with the Team Mentor program and students? Which schools are we at? And how can students at those schools get involved and parents?
Yes. So the schools we're at, first school, the Grizzlies Prep. Then we go to MEAC Walker, Soulsville Charter School, Lester Prep, and I'm missing one. Hickory Ridge Middle School. Those are our 5 middle schools that we're at. If you're interested in getting involved, we have site contacts at each school who are designated to help kids get involved into the program. If you're interested in mentoring, then you can go to our website, which should be Memphis Grizzlies Foundation /Team Mentor. And there's different links that we have on there where you can apply, learn more. We have videos of events and things we've done and has a lot of information. So you can go ahead and apply, and then we'll take it over from there and get you onboarded and ready to mentor.
There we go, man. Thanks a lot for joining us, Jeff.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Hey, good luck on that trip. Safe travels, man. And we're definitely going to do this again because I feel like this is just the first of many opportunities that we're going to have to take these kids out of the community and explore and different things like that from the college standpoint. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jeffrey. We got Pick 6 and polls to talk about on the other side right here on HBCU Huddle in the Built for Tough studios.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item. Whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
Maxwell in concert. The Serenade Tour. October 16th at FedEx Forum. Maxwell. With special guest Jasmine Sullivan. And October London. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Maxwell Live.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance, to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
What's going on, everybody? CJ Hurt, Mike Wallace, HBCU Huddle, Grind City Media, Built for Tough Studios. Mike.
Podcast for the people. Podcast for the people is what we're doing. Yeah, it's a podcast for the people, man. Podcast for the people, man. Content for the culture.
That's a better one. Content for the culture. Let's take a look at the polls, the Box Row media poll from last week. Before we do that, here's my ballot from last week.
Okay.
FAMU 1, North Carolina Central 2. No changes in the top 2 spots. Got Hampton 3. Hampton, battle for the real HU. Hampton emerged victorious. This looks like it could be a pretty fun and special season for the Pirates. Coming in at number 4, Mike, it pained me to do it. How about them Tigers of Grambling State?
Too low. Too
low.
But go ahead. I'm gonna say my comments. I'm gonna let you get through it.
5, Howard following their loss to Hampton. 6, Jackson State following their loss to Grambling. Morgan State, which I looked at it again on Tuesday when I had to send these in to Kyra to make the graphic. It's like, you know what, if I ranked them all right now, Morgan State would be much higher. Texas Southern comes in at 8, Tennessee State at 9. And for the first time, there is a D2 school on my ballot. Johnson C. Smith sitting there at 4-0. They get onto my ballot. Mike.
Yep.
Your gripe about Grambling State is?
Hey, we should be number 1. We should be number 1 because you know what? FAMU's coming off of a loss, right? Central came off of an impressive win. We got a better record than Central. Hampton is impressive, but hey, Grambling makes its case for number 1. And we're going to see they got a number 1 vote in the overall poll.
They did.
It wasn't me. But they are playing the best football among HBCUs right now, and we'll be there. We'll be there eventually.
Just keep winning. That's all you got to do, man. As we take a look at the Box 2 row media poll, FAMU is 1, 10 first place votes. North Carolina Central is 2, 10 first place votes. So they split first place votes almost down the middle, except for that one that went to Grambling, who is at 4. Hampton is at 3. Grambling State, like I said, is at 4. Jackson State 5. Tennessee State is at 6. Alabama State at 7. Morgan State 8. Howard 9. And Johnson C. Smith comes in at number 10 in the Box to Row media poll. Others receiving votes right there. First one up, Clark Atlanta, who will be in Memphis taking on Lane College this week. Speaking of games this week, let's move on to our HBCU Huddle game of the week. And what better way to do that than taking a look at one of the old MEAC rivalries that used to take place. North Carolina A&T will be taking on South Carolina State. As we take a look at the tail of the tape, all-time record for North Carolina A&T, 466, 423, and 46. Their current record is 1-3. Notable alum from North Carolina A&T, Reverend Jesse Jackson, former A&T student body president. Player to watch, Aaron Harris. Harris has 7 tackles, 1 interception, and 5 pass breakups on the season from the cornerback position for A&T, and he'll look to have a big game against a South Carolina State offense that is led by DeAndre Duhart. He has 2 total rushing touchdowns on the year. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry for South Carolina State and 76 rushing yards per game. South Carolina State's all-time record is 564, 358, and 27. Current record is 1-2 in Buddy Pugh's in their first year post Buddy Pugh. Notable alum, Cara McCullough Temple, natural hair supporter, Mike. She ended up winning Miss America and placed top 10 in the Miss Universe pageant. And one of the things that people really enjoyed about her was that she wore her natural hair and talked real glowingly about her natural hair. So there go the tail of the tape. What do you expect in this game, Mike?
I expect big-time defense from South Carolina State. I expect South Carolina State to eventually win this game. I think North Carolina A&T is really going through it right now, trying to find their identity, trying to find some consistency on both sides of the football. But I do know that what you look at in terms of what Chennis Berry is establishing at South Carolina State, it's a team that's going to be physical defensively. It's going to keep themselves into one-possession type games, and then they're going to find a way to win. This is going to be a big-time win for him if he can get it. Probably the first signature victory since he's taken over at South Carolina State. That should be a game South Carolina State should win and then make their case for still being thick in the race for the MEAC championship.
We'll talk more about it. Well, not talk more about it. We'll give our picks on this game coming up in just a second. Let's take a look back before we do our picks for this week at last week's pick 6. Mike went 3-3 last week. Overall record of 18-6. Hit on North Carolina Central over at North Carolina A&T, Grambling State over Jackson State, and Benedict over Edward Waters. Missed on Howard over Hampton, Prairie View A&M over Southern, and Virginia Union over Johnson C. Smith. And boy, oh boy, does that Prairie View A&M pick to win the SWAC West by one of us look real bad right now. Looking at mine, last week record of 3-3. I am 14-10 overall. Hit on Hampton over Howard, North Carolina Central over North Carolina A&T, and Benedict over Edward Waters. And I missed on the same ones. I missed on Jackson State over Grambling because Grambling. Missed on Prairie View over Southern, and I think I'm all the way off of Prairie View A&M now. And Virginia Union over Johnson C. Smith. All right, this week's picks, we had FAMU versus Alabama A&M on there, but because of the tropical storm that is forming, that game got postponed and rescheduled. It will be played, instead of being played this weekend, this Saturday, it'll be played Friday, November 29th.
Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving.
In the same location. It'll be played in Tallahassee.
And that could be an interesting game because with FAMU being the defending champ, right? This could decide the SWAC. The SWAC East from that standpoint. So the SWAC East may come down to the very last game played after Thanksgiving. So it's almost like a de facto pre-SWAC championship game right there, depending on how the records align. But you expect Florida A&M to be right there, and Alabama A&M still has a chance to make a run too. It almost helps Alabama A&M because they can not have to play such an important game so early in their schedule. They don't have to chase it. Take care of the business you're supposed to, and then get to that game, and that might decide whether you continue to go on and play in the SWAC championship and ultimately the Celebration Bowl.
I just had this thought, so forgive me. And if I had this thought sooner, I'd look it up and know for certain. That could mean Florida A&M would play the week before the championship game, play in the championship game, and then go straight from the championship game to the Celebration Bowl
the very next week.
So just 3 straight weeks.
3 straight weeks. November 29th.
Basically postseason play.
December 7th is the SWAC championship game. And then December 14th is the Celebration Bowl. And actually, they're going to go Florida A&M Bethune-Cookman the week before that, right?
Boy.
So it's like boom, boom, boom. Like they're like that's going to be a gauntlet of a 4-game stretch if Florida A&M gets back to the Celebration Bowl.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. So this week's pick 6, Mike.
Yep.
We took FAMU and Alabama A&M off, and we put Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman on there. What you got, Mike?
Oh, in that game, I think is easy for me. Alabama State should be able to win that game, even though they're still searching for some consistency at their third and fourth string quarterbacks now. They're finding their way. This should be a game that they can beat. Bethune-Cookman is struggling right now with depth and continuity. I think Alabama State has that one. Next up, if we're going in the order we had before, obviously Grambling State is going to beat Prairie View A&M. Nothing else needs to be said. Although Grambling does seem to struggle in that State Fair Classic. That goes back to even when I was at Grambling. It was, for whatever reason, man, Dallas is 2 hours away from Grambling, and a lot of people go there and party. It's a big distraction type game. And we lose focus. But I hope that's not the case with this team. It doesn't seem like it will be. Offense needs to wake up. They'll beat Prairie View A&M. Next game after that, I'm going to go North Carolina Central over Norfolk State. Norfolk State got a big-time win. They needed to get that monkey off their back and get a breakthrough last week. They did that. But North Carolina Central is playing they're returning to their level of dominance in terms of what we've been able to see from Trey Oliver, the coach there, over the last few years. So that's going to be one I have North Carolina Central winning. Next, as we just said, the aforementioned South Carolina State will knock off North Carolina A&T. I just think it's a battle of two teams searching for their identity. I believe in Chinnisbury and what he's doing in his first year at South Carolina State. I think they get the Bulldogs get the victory there. And I want to go Clark Atlanta, unfortunately, over Lane. Clark Atlanta is playing absolutely fantastic football right now. L.C. Cole, that name will resonate because he used to be at Tennessee State years ago. He's now defensive coordinator at Clark Atlanta. They have a first-year coach that came over from Allen. Again, Lane has scouted this team really well. When I was over in Jackson on Lane's campus, when I talked to Vyron Brown, when I walked in his office, all the lights were out because they were watching film. I was like, oh, my bad. I came in too soon. He was like, nah, coach, come on in. Right? So I was like a de facto coach up in there breaking film down. But nah, I think Clark Atlanta, that passing game is really, really strong. Lane has to figure out a way to get some consistency on defense. They let that game against Miles get away from them last week. I think Clark Atlanta wins a close one. And last but not least, I would typically pick Bowie State. But Winston-Salem State is playing a little bit more consistently right now. Bowie State has kind of been up and down. I think Winston-Salem State wins in that game right there in the CIAA. I think they knock off Bowie State.
All right, as far as my pick sixes go, I think we got all of the same ones. I'm going to take Alabama State over Bethune as well because Bethune-Cookman just does not look very good at the current moment. I will take Grambling State over Prairie View A&M.
Huh? Say what? Say what?
Because Prairie View A&M, right? Like,
hey, how many times you gonna take? Yeah, you don't want to take that X week after week after week.
I can't keep riding on Prairie View A&M. If it was anybody else over there, I'd absolutely take them over Grambling. This is more about my disappointment in Prairie View A&M how they started the season. Like if it was Grambling State versus Bethune-Cookman, I'd take Bethune-Cookman. I would, but I can't take Prairie View A&M. They've let me down
three times. Yeah,
and it's only 4 games in the season.
It's only 4 games in.
All right, give me North Carolina Central over Norfolk State and Trey Oliver. I trust one of the best coaches right now in the FCS, let alone HBCU football right now. Give me North Carolina Central. I will also take Coach Berry and South Carolina State over North Carolina A&T until North Carolina A&T shows me that they've got more in the tank than what they have.
Yeah,
I just don't have any belief in them. I've lost all faith in what that football program is. I, too, will take Clark Atlanta over Lane, although I will say that this is the type of game Coach Brown wins.
Mm-hmm.
You got a team in here coming in undefeated, 1, high off of a big win, 2, and completing total control of their destiny as it pertains to winning their conference and then advancing to the D2 playoffs. The Lane College I know and love absolutely wins this game and then drops the game next week to whomever they play. Right? Like that's a Lane I know and love. Lose some miles, but beat the best team right now in the conference, and then follow that up with a loss to a bad Tuskegee team this year. We don't need to go into greater depths about what Tuskegee football looks like this year. I will take Winston-Salem State over Bowie State as well, Mike. So those are our pick sixes. That is HBCU Huddle for the week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this week. We'll be back next week to break down of the week that was in the HBCU landscape, share with you some moments or highlight some moments in the black culture from the week that was as well, and look ahead to the next week's slate of game right here on HBCU Huddle on Grind City Media and the Built Ford Tough Studios. For Mike, I'm CJ. Y'all take care. Have a good one.